Welcome to the Newsworthy. All the day's news in less than 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. Thank you so much for listening. Today, what President Trump is calling Spygate, the NFL's controversial new policy, and a warning for parents about teething meds. Plus, noteworthy new features from Bank of America, YouTube, and Tinder. All that and much more in less than 10 minutes. And hang out today after the news for a fun 3-question Thursday. An Entertainment Tonight host is telling us what it was like to be at Windsor Castle and cover the royal wedding.
I yelled to Meghan. I'll admit, I yelled, "Meghan!"
I'm Erica Mandy. Today is Thursday, May 24th. You ready? Let's do this. Today, top lawmakers from both parties will be meeting with top FBI officials. The Hill reports they're planning to talk about classified info involving an investigation in 2016, the one that has now sparked President Trump to make some serious claims. Yesterday, the president tweeted a bunch of times about what he's now calling Spygate. He says an FBI spy was likely embedded within his campaign before the presidential election. He tweeted, quote, "Spygate could be one of the biggest political scandals in history." But so far, no one's confirmed these claims. Trump asked for an investigation, so the Inspector General is looking into any irregularities the FBI may have had with the Trump campaign. Also, there's today's meeting. Trump's supporters say it's clear the FBI has been treating him unfairly. Critics say he's pushing a conspiracy that has no proof. It is unconstitutional for President Trump to block his critics on Twitter. That's what a judge ruled this week. Here's why. The judge says the president's Twitter feed is considered a public forum, so it's protected by the First Amendment. And the ruling says no public official can block anyone from his or her Twitter feed just because of that person's political views. A big change in NFL policy, and it's definitely controversial. The new policy says teams will be fined if football players kneel on the field or sidelines during the national anthem before the game, or do anything that is perceived as not showing respect for the anthem. Players can choose to stay in the locker room if they want. It's, of course, in response to the dozens of players who have kneeled during the anthem over the last 2 seasons. It all started with the player Colin Kaepernick. Protesting players said it was meant to bring attention to social justice issues. President Trump said it disrespected the flag. Well, the NFL commissioner now hopes the new policy keeps the focus on the game. Some players and the Players Association are not happy. The association may even challenge this new policy. Critics say the new rule is based on fear of the president. It stifles players' voices, and it makes things even more divided. Supporters feel the NFL is a workplace that gets to set its own rules and that players are disrespecting the flag when they kneel. No word yet on how much that fine for kneeling could be. And no word from the White House about this, except Vice President Mike Pence did tweet #winning. One more thing worth noting. ESPN reports the NFL is still working with players to create an $89 million social justice platform. It was started in the past during talks about this kneeling controversy. The Milwaukee Police Department is saying sorry. It's also disciplining officers for what happened. NBC News reports officers used a taser on NBA player Sterling Brown over a parking violation. He was eventually let go and was not charged with a crime, and now everyone can actually see the video from the officer's body cam as they use a taser on him. Brown plays for the Milwaukee Bucks. The team released a statement calling the officer's actions shameful. Heads up, parents, the FDA says do not use certain teething medicine on your babies and toddlers. Federal health officials say that various gels and creams that have a popular numbing ingredient can cause serious problems. The ingredient is called benzocaine, and officials say it can lead to rare but deadly side effects in children, especially 2 and younger. And we're even talking about over-the-counter drugs. The drug makers are now expected to stop selling the products geared toward kids. They're also supposed to put a new warning on the products made for adults. The FDA has apparently been warning about these products for years, but now it wants the meds off the store shelves altogether. All right, other things people may be talking about today. The city of West Hollywood in California just declared an official Stormy Daniels Day, as in Stormy Daniels, the adult film star who was paid to keep quiet about an alleged affair with President Trump. And now she's suing him and has talked about it publicly. The LA Times reports West Hollywood city officials praised Daniels for standing up to power, even when she was allegedly threatened. They also gave her a key to the city. President Trump has denied the affair. I will now be sharing a name with a virtual assistant. Bank of America will be rolling out a new AI assistant for mobile app customers. And yes, her name is Erica. Bank of America's Erica. 25 million mobile bank customers can expect to see this new feature roll out over the next few weeks. Erica should allow app users to do things like see their balance and transfer money. YouTube is officially trying to compete with Spotify with a new music streaming service, and it's now starting to roll out to some users. The payment part works pretty much like other music services. You have the option to listen for free with ads or pay a price each month to get it ad-free. It's $9.99 a month on its own, or you can get YouTube Premium for $11.99 a month. That's the newly branded version of what used to be called YouTube Red. It gives you both music and video content. USA Today compares all the major music streaming services, so a link to that will be in today's show notes on thenewsworthy.com. Tinder has a new feature, and it's all based on where you are, and not just your city. TechCrunch reports it will narrow your list of dating prospects to the people who stop by your favorite coffee shop or that after-work bar. Apparently now, you should match first, then say hello in person later. It's called Tinder Places. For now, the dating app is just testing it out in 3 cities. Some people, though, are calling it creepy. A Tinder spokeswoman says it may change the tone in a good way, that it takes away that anonymous vibe. That's it for the main news today, but it's now time for 3 Question Thursday, where I talk about a different topic with a different expert every Thursday after the news. This week, we are getting a behind-the-scenes look at the royal wedding. Why are people so fascinated with it? What was it really like to be there? And what's next for the couple? We have Entertainment Tonight host Lauren Zima here. She has been on the show before, but she is back because she was there in person at Windsor Castle last weekend. So here is my conversation about the royal wedding with Lauren Zima. Hi, Lauren. Thanks so much for coming back on the show.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm riding a royal wedding high right now.
Well, welcome back to the States. I know you just got back from being there yourself, but I first want to talk about why people are so fascinated with this. I mean, we saw more than 29 million Americans wake up early on a Saturday morning to watch the wedding live. Why do we, especially as Americans, care so much? And what do you say to people who don't understand it at all?
I do think that what we got here was a royal wedding meets red carpet situation. When you have George and Amal Clooney, when you have Oprah attending your event, then maybe people who aren't even necessarily into the royals are going to tune in because they love fashion moments, because they love movie stars. So the wedding really expanded its reach when we started seeing those major celebrity guests show up. And we knew about some of them in advance, but not all of them. Some of them were surprises. So I think that really got people talking. And at the end of the day, who doesn't love a love story? Also, you know, she's an American. I was surprised being over there. I thought that when I was speaking to Brits that I would be this annoying American reporter and that they would say they didn't really love the idea of this American actress entering their royal monarchy. But actually, they were all so excited about it. They said she's a breath of fresh air. And not only that, but, you know, for them, the royal family is very much a source of tourism there. So not only did they grow up caring about the royals, but it's a source of business for people, brings people to the country, obviously, gets people talking about England. So you had beauty, you had grace, you had Hollywood and real royalty. It all turned out great.
So take us a little bit behind the scenes of what it was like to actually be there. Where were you? What did it take to get to the spot you were at? And then what was kind of the favorite thing about being there?
It was so much fun being there. We had great weather the whole time. We spent our first few days in London and then after that headed over to Windsor. And once we got to Windsor, the fanfare was on another level. You know, with William and Kate's wedding, that was in London at Westminster Abbey, very much a state affair. And people got a holiday there. So I think London blew up for that reason because it was bigger. But this was so intimate. Windsor is this little tourist town, and the castle where the wedding was happening is at the center of the town. So we woke up at 5 a.m. to go and stake out a spot on what is called the Long Walk. We had different media credentials and they would get you into certain areas, but the day of the wedding, those credentials didn't apply as much. Basically, different areas were opened up at different times. So we kind of had to be out there with everybody, which was also really fun. So the Long Walk was the ending, this long stretch of grass of their carriage processional, and it led them back up to the castle. So we staked out a spot early in the morning. The wedding didn't start until noon, right at the front of the long walk so that we could see them, film some footage of them as they went by, and it was awesome. I have to say, I yelled to Meghan. I'll admit, I yelled, "Meghan!" And she turned and looked at us, and she was glowing in person. I mean, she looked gorgeous on camera as the world watched, but when they say that a bride glows, she really looked gorgeous. She looked so happy, and it was so much fun to be out there with everybody. I thought that it would be just chaos, but they had planned so well. I mean, there were food trucks, there was coffee, there were drinks. It was really, again, just sort of, it felt like the Kentucky Derby or just one of those really great outdoor fun events. And everybody was excited. There was such excitement in the air.
What were a couple of the top things that really broke tradition from past royal weddings that stood out to you?
Totally. So they have been rule breakers from the start, right? Harry and Meghan, even Harry himself, because he was always the partying prince when he was younger, much more so than Will, who I think has to maintain a certain sense of decorum because he's the future king. So from the start, we've seen Meghan wearing sleeveless dresses, wearing her hair in a little bit of a messier bun, not wearing pantyhose. And these things all sound kind of trivial, but then she's also done things like spoken out on quote unquote political movements like Me Too and Time's Up, which traditionally is not something that royals are supposed to do. And they really continued that with the wedding in certain ways. I think that they followed tradition in the aspect of, Harry wore his military uniform and Meghan's dress was very simple and sleek and appropriate. She picked a sleeved dress, but they also did some fun stuff like brought in that bishop that nobody can stop talking about. They did that choir singing Stand By Me. So they definitely added their own personal touches. We know from sources that Meghan gave a toast of her own at that late night reception, a very private reception just for a few hundred family and friends. And traditionally that would not be done by a royal bride. Meghan was really striking the balance here from everything we know about trying to both bring herself and her touches to the wedding because she is a very strong and independent woman, but also following the traditions that she needed to. I think it can kind of all be summed up in her walk down the aisle because once her dad had dropped out of things, they had to figure out a backup plan. And what she chose to do was have Prince Charles walk her halfway. So that's a nod to the royal family, to tradition, and then walk the rest of the way herself, again, showing and setting the stage for her being someone who's going to be a strong woman in the causes that she fights for and the way she conducts herself.
What is the couple doing now, and what do you expect them to do in the future as a royal couple and then also for their honeymoon?
So what we do know is that they really agree on a lot of causes that are important to them. When they made their wedding registry, their registry just asked for charitable donations. The royals, they're good to go. They don't need a blender. But they both named some causes, like some causes for youth. I think they've both fought really hard for youth and to make sure that the future of the country will be in the hands of strong young people. And Meghan now has her official page on the royal wedding website. And if you want to talk breaking tradition, I love this. She says, and I quote, that she is a proud feminist. So we know that Meghan is going to be someone who continues to fight for women's causes, which she did before she met Harry. She wants to combat social injustice for women, and I think that's going to be so exciting to watch and see. They are planning a honeymoon, but when that honeymoon will happen, we're not sure because we've also heard some reports, and I don't have a ton of confirmation about this, but that they might want to go and see Thomas Markle, Meghan's father, before the honeymoon, since him walking her down the aisle at the wedding kind of fell apart. So they might take a trip to see him. We have already seen them step out once. They went to that event so quickly, from what our sources say, maybe because they wanted to make sure that they crossed the box off of first time out since their wedding, because that was going to be a headline. So now they've had that first time out since their wedding. They've been seen, they said their hellos, and that'll give them a nice amount of time and space to go and enjoy their honeymoon without people hounding them.
Well, thank you for chatting with us and sharing your experience with us. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Always a good time.
And you can follow Lauren Zima on Instagram or watch her on Entertainment Tonight. You can find links to do that, as well as links to read more about any of the news stories we talked about today in today's show notes. Just head to thenewsworthy.com, click episodes, and find today's date. And if you are that person who just cannot get enough of the royal wedding, then check out my friend's podcast, Wedding Confessionals. They just released a royal wedding recap episode, and they're hilarious. One more thing. If we are not connected yet on Instagram, I would love for you to say hello. Find me at Erica Mandy News. Thanks so much again for listening today. The Newsworthy is ready for you by 4 a.m. Eastern Time every weekday, so I'll be back with more news tomorrow. Have a great day.